Thoroughly Amateur Productions. I started that as a joke. I was going to say today, but by now it's actually yesterday that I started it, because I have no production company and I am thoroughly amateur. I normally would not be making a video at 12:49 in the morning, but IBS has kicked in. It's kept me from doing the things I normally would be doing. I probably would be in bed by now if not for the IBS. And so I hope the lighting is okay. Technical issues. I have no good lighting for videos. But the thought came to me, since I've been making videos all day, to discuss this question. Why do I like Balcones whiskey so much? I have here 3 of the 4 Balcones whiskeys I have ever owned. I don't have the pot still bourbon. That soldier is dead, and next time I'm at Total Wine I need to get a replacement. But I have the Lineage. It is a Texas single malt whiskey, and they call it Lineage. I have the Balcones, these are all Balcones, Baby Blue, which is corn whiskey. And then I have Brimstone, which is a corn whiskey, and it says it is Texas Scrub Oak Smoked. Earlier today I was looking around online trying to find out what is smoked whiskey, and I found a video or two on how to smoke your own whiskey. You light stuff on fire and let the smoke set on top of the whiskey, and the spirit, I guess, absorbs odors and tastes from the smoke. So I presume with this Brimstone that they are running it through some kind of smoke-filled compartment, not a whole room, I would assume, probably a pipe half full of whiskey and half full of smoke, some such mechanism. But all of these I like. This Lineage, the the single malt, has a nice spice to it, and it's very different from bourbon and corn whiskey and rye whiskey. It's got spice, but it's not rye spice. The Baby Blue is not a complex whiskey, but it's very good. Now, well, I'm about to get ahead of myself, so I won't go where I was headed. But it's lighter than the Lineage, and very good. The Brimstone is also a corn whiskey like the Baby Blue, but it's very heavy and smoky and dark. But they all have some things. I cleaned out my desk yesterday, and things are finally deciding they don't like the way they've been setting all day. Real life in amateur or totally amateur productions. Anyway, back to Balcones. I don't know if it's the climate in Waco. I don't know if it's the shape of the pot stills that they distill everything in. I don't know if it's the fact that they got their stills from Forsyth in Scotland instead of Vendome in Kentucky. I don't know if it's the shape of the bottle. I don't know if it's the Texas, which you might not be able to see, that's on the top of every cork. I don't know if it's this little strip that's on underneath every label. I don't know if they're just holding the mouth right. But Balcones whiskeys, all 4 that I've had, are very distinctive. Now, I've not had any other, I take it back. I have tried Longhorn, what was it called? 100% straight Texas corn whiskey, something like that. and it was just awful. It was medicinal and sour, and those were the only notes, medicinally sour. It tasted almost as bad as the New Mexico Blue corn whiskey I tried a while back. And it makes me wonder if corn whiskey generally is just that bad. These corn whiskeys here, the Baby Blue and the Lineage, are not bad at all. They're very good. But then they're from Balcones Distilling. And something they do, because mash bills are different. The pot still bourbon, as I say, I can't show you the bottle. I don't have any right now. Has a 4-grain mash bill. By law, it's at least 51% corn. I haven't been able to find any figures. But it also has malted barley and wheat and rye in it, which is very interesting because rye provides spice, but wheat provides sweetness, and usually a wheated bourbon is to get away from the rye spice with the sweetness of the wheat. Balcones pot still bourbon has both in there. So it's not the mash bills. We have that 4-grain mash bill for the pot still, a single grain mash bill, corn, for the Baby Blue and the Brimstone, and a single grain mash bill, except it's malted barley, for the Lineage. So it's not the mash bill. Maybe it's the water tower on top of their building. Maybe it's the name, but something makes Balcones whiskeys very distinct. I suspect that if you were to give me a blind taste test, say a flight of half a dozen different bottles, one of which was Balcones, I really believe, I've never had the chance to test it, I could be wrong, but I really believe that I could not identify 5 of those bottles, but the one from Balcones I'd know was from Balcones. I believe that. Because out of 4 whiskeys, all of them have had that Balcones stamp to them. Bourbon is a distinct kind of whiskey. Scotch is a distinct kind of whiskey. But, of course, within Scotch you have the 5 regions, whiskey regions in Scotland. But I don't know that there is any other distiller besides Balcones where really you can say Balcones is a kind of whiskey. Maybe Garrison Brothers is like that. I've never had the chance yet, anyway, to try their stuff. Maybe Iron Root Republic or Treaty Oak or some other Texas distiller has that distinct cast or character to its whiskey. I don't know. I've not been able to try it. But something about Balcones is very distinctive. And if it weren't for the fact that they have so many different whiskeys, they do bourbon, they do corn whiskey, they do single malt, they do rye, and different expressions of these various things. The Lineage, that's the Brimstone. The Lineage is just one of their single malt whiskeys. Baby Blue and Brimstone are just 2 of their corn whiskeys. They have a wheated bourbon, and they'll do cask strength. They've got a line of whiskeys that they're always producing, a line of annual releases, and my hands are below the camera, a line aside of the camera, and then they have a line of special releases that they might release this year or they might not. So they've got all these variations, and yet it's all Balcones. Something about that distillery makes very special whiskey. And if you ever figure out what it is, I would love to know.